welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, and if you are new here, welcome. This channel is all about breaking down chess openings in a way that actually makes sense. No fluff, no confusion, just pure chess knowledge that you can take straight to the board. And before we get into today's opening, I just want to take a second and say something from the heart. We just crossed 100 subscribers. Now, I know for a lot of big channels that might sound small, but for me, that means 100 real people decided this content is worth their time. That is genuinely humbling. Every single one of you, thank you. It motivates me to keep making these videos better and better, and I promise you, we are just getting started. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button, join the family, let's grow this thing together. Alright, now let's talk chess. Today, we are covering one of the most underrated, sneaky, and strategically rich openings that White can play, the King's Indian attack. And I want to be upfront with you, this is not the flashiest opening. You are not going to win in 12 moves with some tricky tactics. But what you are going to get is a solid, flexible system that you can use against almost anything black throws at you. And that, my friends, is worth its weight in gold, especially if you are a club player trying to build a real repertoire. So let's get into it. The King's Indian attack is a system opening for white. What that means is, unlike the Ruy Lopez or the London system where the move order is pretty fixed, the Indian attack is defined by a setup, not a sequence. White is going to build the same structure regardless of what black does. That flexibility is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Here how it goes. White starts with pawn to e4, claiming the center immediately. Black responds with pawn to e5, the most natural reply, matching white in the center, saying, I want my share too. White plays knight to f3, developing the knight towards the center and also eyeing that e5 pawn. Black plays knight to c6, defending the e5 pawn and bringing a piece out. Totally natural, totally normal so far. Now, here is where white starts doing something different. Instead of going into the Italian game or the Ruy Lopez, white plays pawn to g3. Black plays pawn to d6, a solid, careful move supporting the e5 pawn and preparing to develop the light squared bishop. White plays bishop to g2. This is the fianchetto. The bishop tucks behind the g3 pawn, pointing down the long diagonal like a loaded cannon aimed straight at black's queenside. It is going to be a monster piece for the entire game. Black plays bishop e7. Sensible development, getting the bishop out and preparing to castle. White plays pawn to d3. This is important. White is not playing d4 and going into a big pawn battle. White is keeping the center flexible, supporting the e4 pawn quietly and preparing to build the kingside structure. Black plays knight to f6. Another natural developing move, putting pressure on the e4 pawn. White plays knight to d2, supporting e4 and keeping options open. Black castles kingside, bringing the king to safety. And now white also castles kingside. And just like that, the king's Indian attack is complete. That is the setup. Pawn to e4, knight to f3, pawn to g3, bishop to g2, pawn to d3, knight b from d2, and castles. Every single move has a purpose. Every piece is pointing in the right direction and white is ready to attack. 6 to 7 moves and your position is already coherent, already threatening and already dangerous. Now, who played this? Bobby Fischer. That's who. The greatest chess player who ever lived, arguably, was a massive fan of the king's Indian attack, and he used it at the high levels of competition. Fischer famously deployed this system against grandmasters who played the French defense and Sicilian defense, and he absolutely destroyed them. One of the most celebrated examples is his game against Robert Byrne in 1963, a game so brilliant that the entire audience, including the commentators, thought Fischer had made a mistake when he sacrificed his queen. Spoiler, he hadn't. Fischer saw 20 moves deep, and the game is now considered one of the most perfect attacking games ever played. And it started with the King's Indian attack structure. That should tell you everything you need to know about this opening. Let's talk about what White actually wants to do strategically, because understanding the plan is more important than memorizing moves. White's main idea in the King's Indian attack is to launch a kingside attack. After you complete the setup, you push pawns to e5 at the right moment, which kicks black's knight and claims central space. Then you follow up with pawn to f4, supporting the e5 pawn and building an unstoppable kingside pawn role. The knight comes to f3, already there, and supports the attack. You bring your rooks to e and f files, and you just pour everything into black's king. Meanwhile, black is often trying to counterattack on the king side, queen side. This creates this beautiful dynamic tension where both sides are racing. White is attacking the king side, black is attacking the queen side, and the question is who gets there first. More often than not, with correct play, White's attack comes faster because it is more direct. Let's talk about some important things that separate good King's Indian attack players from great ones. The first thing to understand is the knight on d2 versus f3 decision. Many players automatically put their knight on f3 in every opening, but in the King's Indian attack, knight to d2 is often better because it keeps the f3 square available for the pawn push. It also means your f3 pawn can come later to support the e5 pawn. This is a small detail, but it matters enormously. The second thing is patience. The King's Indian attack is not about rushing. It is about setting up your ideal structure and then attacking. If you push prematurely, if you play pawn to e5 before your pieces are ready, black can counterattack and your attack fizzles out. Build first, attack second. The third thing, and this is something Fischer understood better than anyone, is piece coordination. In the King's Indian attack, every single piece needs to be pointing at black's king before you commit to the final assault. Your bishop on g2, your knight on g3, your queen potentially on e3 or f3, your rooks on e1 and f1 or h1. When all of those pieces are lined up, black has no defense. The King's Indian attack also has a beautiful psychological advantage. A lot of players at the club and intermediate level have never faced it or don't know what to do against it. They see pawn to e4, knight to f3, and then instead of the normal Rue Lopez or Italian game, they get this slow fianchetto system and suddenly their prepared lines are useless. You can take your opponents completely out of their comfort zone before the game even really begins. Wrap this up. The King's Indian attack, flexible, solid, deadly. Play pawn to e4, knight to f3, pawn to d3, pawn to g3, bishop to g2, knight to e2, castle kingside. Build your setup, push pawn to e5 when the moment is right, and then let that kingside attack roll. Whether black plays the French, the Sicilian, or a symmetrical setup, your structure stays the same and your plan stays the same. The consistency is a superpower. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I genuinely appreciate you. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what opening you want to see next. And if this video helped you even a little bit, please hit the like button. Channel grow more than you know. Subscribe if you haven't already and share this with a chess friend who needs to add a weapon to their white repertoire. We just hit 100 subscribers and I could not be grateful. This community is everything. Let's get to 1000. I'll see you in the next one.